Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a deep dive summary of the book Million Dollar Weekend by Noah Kagan, about the author, Noah Kagan. Before we jump into the tactical steps of the first chapter, it is vital to understand the man behind the method. Noah Kagan is not just another business guru. He is a practitioner of the lean startup philosophy in its purest form. Noah was the 30th employee at Facebook, where he worked directly under Mark Zuckerberg, and later the director of marketing at Mint.com, helping them grow to millions of users. However, his most significant achievement is AppSumo.com, a business he started for a few $100s that now generates 8 figures in annual revenue. Noah's career has been defined by the pivot. After being fired from Facebook and losing out on a fortune in stock options, he didn't give up. He learned that the only thing that separates successful entrepreneurs from wannabes is the ability to take immediate action. He wrote Million Dollar Weekend to share his now framework, designed to strip away the excuses people use to avoid the terrifying act of starting. Chapter 1, The Art of Starting, the 48-Hour Mindset. The opening of Million Dollar Weekend is a direct assault on the concept of business planning. Noah Kagan argues that the traditional way people are taught to start businesses, writing 40-page business plans, seeking venture capital, and spending months on a logo, is actually a sophisticated form of procrastination. He calls this the planning trap, the now habit. The core of Chapter 1 is the now habit. Noah posits that the most successful people in the world have a shorter gap between having an idea and taking the first physical action toward that idea. For most people, this gap is months or years. For a million-dollar weekend entrepreneur, that gap should be minutes. Noah introduces the concept of the 48-hour sprint. The idea is that if you cannot validate a business idea within a single weekend, it is likely not a viable business for a solo entrepreneur. By constraining the time, you force yourself to focus only on what is essential, the customer. Overcoming starting paralysis. Why don't people start? Noah identifies that the primary culprit is fear. Fear of looking stupid, fear of losing money, and fear of failure. To combat this, he introduces the minimum viable action. If you want to start a landscaping business, don't buy a lawnmower. Instead, walk to your neighbor's house now and ask if they would pay you $20 to mow their lawn next Saturday. If they say yes, you have a business. If they say no, you've lost nothing but 5 minutes. The Law of 100, one of the most powerful concepts in this chapter, is the Law of 100. Noah explains that most people try one thing, fail, and quit. They send 3 cold emails, get no response, and decide this business doesn't work. The Law of 100 states that you cannot judge the success of any endeavor until you have performed 100 repetitions of the core action. 100 sales calls, 100 emails, 100 pitches to strangers. This shifts the focus from the outcome, the sale, to the output, the effort. If you focus on reaching 100 rejections, you take the stings out of the no. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start being a scientist of your data. Focus on Tier 1 problems. Noah discusses how to choose where to start. He suggests looking for Tier 1 problems, problems that are urgent, frequent, and painful. If someone has a Tier 3 problem, like wanting a slightly prettier phone case, they might buy it eventually. If they have a Tier 1 problem, like their website is currently crashing and they are losing $100 an hour, they will pay you now. Chapter 1 teaches you to stop looking for cool ideas and start looking for burning problems. The under-the-radar launch. Noah also touches on the idea that your first version should be ugly. He quotes LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, "If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." The Million Dollar Weekend approach is about launching with a Google Doc, a PayPal link, or a simple text message. The lack of polish is actually a feature. It allows you to pivot quickly without having wasted thousands of dollars on a polished product that nobody wants. Disclaimer: what I've learned sections are based on my interpretation, not necessarily what the author's interpretation might. What I've learned, the deep dive analysis. The psychological wall. Reading this chapter made me realize that my research phase was actually a defensive mechanism. I was gathering information to protect myself from the possibility of being told no. I learned that learning without doing is just a high-level form of entertainment. The beauty of the 48-hour constraint. I've often spent weeks thinking about a project only to lose interest. By forcing everything into 48 hours, Noah teaches us how to harness productive manic energy. If the clock is ticking, you don't have time to worry about what font to use on your business card. Redefining failure through the law of 100. This was a massive aha moment for me. I realized I was quitting at rep 5 or 10. By setting the goal at 100, failure becomes a milestone rather than a destination. It's like a video game where you have to collect 100 no's to level up. The myth of the big idea. I used to wait for a lightning bolt of genius. Noah's chapter taught me that big ideas are actually just small solutions that grew up. You don't find $1 million business. You build one starting with a $20 problem. Social bravery is a muscle. The chapter implies that entrepreneurship is less about IQ and more about AQ, action quotient. I've learned that I need to train myself to be socially brave in small ways every day so that when it's time to ask for a big contract, I don't freeze up. This concludes the summary for Chapter 1. Chapter 2, Finding Your $1 million idea. If Chapter 1 was about the will to start, Chapter 2 is about the where to start. Noah Kagan tackles one of the most common excuses in the entrepreneurial world. I don't have a good idea. He argues that ideas are cheap and abundant, but our idea filters are broken. Most people are looking for $1 billion unicorn idea, the next Uber or Airbnb, instead of looking for a customer with a problem. The customer-first framework. Noah flips the traditional business model on its head. Instead of starting with a product and searching for customers, he insists you must find customers and then find their problems. This is the customer-first framework. If you find a group of people who are already spending money on a specific area, you have found a market. He introduces the golden loop of idea generation. 1. Find a problem. Look for things that are broken, slow, or expensive. 2. Verify the market. Ensure people are already spending money to solve this. 3. Offer a solution. Create a simple version, an MVP, to solve it better or cheaper. The complaint mine. One of the most practical strategies Noah shares is mining for complaints. He suggests that every complaint is a business idea in disguise. He gives several specific hunting grounds for these ideas. Your own life. Throughout your day, keep a problem log. Every time you feel frustrated, write it down. Did you struggle to find a specific tool? Was a service you used late? Is your inbox overflowing? These are all potential businesses. The bestseller reverse engineer. Go to Amazon, Yelp, or the App Store. Look for products with thousands of reviews. Now look specifically at the 3-star reviews. 5-star reviews are fans, 1-star reviews are haters, but 3-star reviews are people who wanted to love the product but found a specific flaw. If you can fix that one flaw, you have a business. The Craigslist Facebook Marketplace method. Look at what people are asking for in community groups. Are they looking for reliable handymen or tutors for specialized software? If people are asking for help, the demand is already there. The tier system of problems. Noah categorizes problems into 3 tiers to help you prioritize where to spend your 48-hour weekend. Tier 1, pain. Problems that are urgent and cost people money or massive amounts of time right now. Example, a business's website is down. Tier 2, annoyance. Problems that are irritating but can be ignored for a while. Example, a squeaky door. Tier 3, entertainment luxury. Things people want but don't need. Example, a new fashion accessory. Noah's advice is clear. Stick to Tier 1. It is significantly easier to sell a painkiller than a vitamin. In $1 million weekend, you don't have time to convince people they have a problem. You need to find people who are already screaming for help. The search engine method. Noah also highlights using data to find ideas. Tools like Google Trends or looking at related searches can show you what the world is curious about. If how to use AI for bookkeeping is spiking in search volume, but the results are all generic blog posts, there is a gap for a specialized service or a guided course. The copycat strategy. Noah is a big proponent of not reinventing the wheel. He mentions that originality is overrated. If you see a business doing well in one city, can you bring it to your city? If you see a software tool working for real estate agents, can you adapt the same concept for dentists? This isn't about stealing, it's about proven demand. If someone is already paying for a service, you don't have to spend time wondering if a market exists. What I've learned is deep dive analysis. The myth of the genius inventor. I learned that I've been holding myself back by trying to think of something that has never been done before. Noah's perspective that business is just solving a problem for a price took the pressure off. I now realize that a boring business that makes money is better than a unique business that doesn't. The value of negative feedback. I used to avoid looking at bad reviews for things I liked. Now I see 3-star reviews as a treasure map. It's a literal list of features that customers are willing to pay for. It's like the market is giving you the answers to the test. Pain versus pleasure. This was a huge takeaway for me. I've tried to start hobby businesses in the past, Tier 3, and they always felt like an uphill battle. I've learned that I need to look for bleeding neck problems, things that people must fix today to ensure my 48-hour validation works. The power of the problem log. Since reading this, I've started keeping a note on my phone. I've realized I complain about 5-10 things a day. Previously, I just let those frustrations pass. Now, I look at them as potential revenue streams. It has changed my entire worldview from a consumer to a producer. Speed to market. I've learned that an okay idea executed today is worth 10 perfect ideas executed next year. By focusing on existing demand, like looking at what's already selling on eBay or Craigslist, I can skip the guessing phase and go straight to the selling phase. Chapter 3, The Coffee Challenge, Overcoming the Fear of No. In Chapter 3, Noah Kagan moves away from business theory and into the visceral reality of human psychology. He argues that you can have the best idea in the world, Chapter 2, and the best mindset, Chapter 1, but if you are paralyzed by the fear of social rejection, you will never build $1 million business. To solve this, he introduces his most famous and controversial exercise, the coffee challenge, the psychology of the ask. Noah observes that most aspiring entrepreneurs are ask avoidant. They are comfortable building a product in the dark, but they are terrified of asking a stranger for money. This fear is evolutionary. In ancestral times, social rejection could lead to being cast out of the tribe, which meant death. In the modern business world, however, this instinct is a liability. The coffee challenge is designed to be a controlled crash for your ego. The instructions are deceptively simple. 1. Go to a physical coffee shop, not a drive-through. 2. Order a drink. 3. When it's time to pay, ask the cashier for a 10% discount. 4. Do not offer an excuse or a reason. If they ask why, simply say, just because. 5. Maintain eye contact and wait for the no. Why the coffee challenge works. The goal of this exercise isn't to save 40 cents on a latte. In fact, whether you get the discount or not is completely irrelevant. The purpose is to experience the awkwardness and realize that the world doesn't end. Noah explains that by intentionally seeking a no, you desensitize your nervous system. You learn that the no isn't personal. The cashier doesn't hate you, they just have a policy. Silence is a tool. Most people fill the silence with apologies. Learning to sit in the awkwardness of an ask makes you a powerful negotiator. The ask is a binary outcome. You either get what you want or you stay exactly where you were before. There is no actual loss involved in asking. Building the rejection muscle. Noah emphasizes that rejection is a muscle. If you don't train it, it atrophies. He shares stories of his own failures, including being fired from Facebook, to show that even the most successful people deal with massive rejection. The difference is that they don't let the rejection stop their momentum. In business, you will have to ask for many things. Asking a supplier for better terms. Asking a potential partner for a meeting. Asking a customer to buy. Asking an employee to work late. If you are too nice or too afraid of being annoying, you will always be at the mercy of those who are willing to ask. This chapter is about moving from a passive participant in life to an active director. The no goal. A key tactic Noah introduces is the no goal. Instead of setting a goal to get 5 yeses today, set a goal to get 10 no's. When your goal is to get rejected, a no becomes a victory because it means you took the shot. This gamifies the most painful part of entrepreneurship. It shifts your focus from the outcome, which you can't control, to the effort, which you can. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. Social friction is imaginary. I realized that 90% of the danger I feel when asking for something is a hallucination. When I actually tried a version of this, the cashier just looked confused, said, "I can't do that," and I paid full price. Nothing happened. I didn't die. My heart rate returned to normal in 30 seconds. The power of the reasonless. Ask. I learned that I have a habit of over-explaining. Noah's insistence on not giving a reason for the discount taught me that because I want to is a valid enough reason in business. Over-explaining is a sign of weakness. It shows you don't believe you deserve what you're asking for. Desensitization versus bravery. I always thought I needed more courage. Noah taught me that I actually need exposure. Courage is doing something while you're afraid. Exposure makes it so you aren't afraid in the first place. By doing the coffee challenge, I'm not being brave. I'm just becoming bored with the word no. Rejection as data. I've started viewing every no in my professional life as a data point rather than a critique of my character. If I ask for a sale and get a no, it just means the value proposition wasn't high enough or the person wasn't the right fit. It has nothing to do with my worth as a human being. The price of the discount. I've realized that the price of getting what you want in life is simply being willing to endure a few seconds of social awkwardness. Most people aren't willing to pay that price, which is why the people who are willing to ask end up with all the opportunities. Chapter 4, Validation, the 48-hour sprint. Chapter 4 is the operational heart of Million Dollar Weekend. This is where Noah Kagan moves from the psychological preparation of the coffee challenge into the cold, hard mechanics of business. The central thesis of this chapter is a radical departure from traditional MBA teaching. Revenue is the only form of validation. Noah argues that market research, interest surveys, and focus groups are largely useless. People lie when they aren't spending their own money. They will tell you your idea is great because they want to be polite. The only truth in business is a credit card swipe or a cash transfer. The validation rule. 3 customers in 50 hours. Noah sets a very specific bar for what constitutes a validated idea. You must find 3 paying customers who are not your mother or your best friend within 48 hours. Why 3? 1 is a fluke, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a trend. The 48-hour constraint is vital because it prevents a refunded feature creep. When you only have 2 days to make a sale, you don't have time to build a website, set up an LLC, or design a logo. You are forced to use the manual first approach. The manual first, concierge, MVP. Instead of building a complex automated product, Noah advocates for being the man behind the curtain. If you want to build an AI meal planner, your MVP is you manually emailing a PDF of recipes to someone for $20. If you want to start a luxury concierge service, your MVP is you personally running errands for a client. This is often called the Wizard of Oz MVP. The customer sees a functional service, but behind the scenes, you are doing all the work manually. This allows you to learn exactly what the customer wants before you spend a penny on automation or software development. The Target 10 exercise. To get your first 3 sales, Noah introduces the Target 10 method. 1. List 10 people you know who might have the problem you are solving. 2. Contact them directly, text, DM, or phone, no mass emails. 3. The pitch. I'm starting a service that does X to solve Y. It costs, do you want to be one of my first 3 beta testers? If you go through your Target 10 and nobody buys, you don't tweak the logo. You change the offer or you change the idea. Noah's mantra is pre-sell, then build. If you can't sell it before it exists, you won't be able to sell it after it exists. Don't play business. Noah identifies a disease called playing business. This includes spending 10 hours on a name, printing business cards, setting up social media handles, organizing your home office. None of these things generate revenue. In Chapter 4, Noah mandates that you are prohibited from doing any of these things until you have your first 3 paying customers. Validation is the gatekeeper. If you don't pass validation, you never play business. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. The brutal truth of the wallet. I realize that I've spent years validating ideas by asking friends for their opinions. I now see that as a waste of time. I learned that someone saying I'd buy that is a $0 value statement. Someone actually sending $1 via Venmo is a 1,000 value statement because it proves intent. The manual epiphany. I used to think I needed to be a coder or hire a developer to start a tech business. Noah's manual-first approach taught me that I can simulate almost any software service with a spreadsheet and an email account. This removes the "I don't have technical skills" excuse entirely. The 48-hour filter. I've learned that the time limit is my best friend. It acts as a filter for my own enthusiasm. If I'm not excited enough about an idea to try and sell it for 48 hours, then I'm not excited enough to run it as a business for 5 years. Overcoming the professionalism trap. I used to feel embarrassed to sell something that wasn't ready. Now I understand that ready is a moving target. I learned that customers don't care about my logo. They care about their problem. If I can solve their problem with a text message, I am a professional in their eyes. The Target 10 strategy. I learned that my network is a goldmine I've been afraid to tap. I realized that by not offering my services to my network, I'm actually depriving them of a solution to their problems. It shifted my mindset from bothering people to helping people. Chapter 5, Scaling the Winner. Once you have survived the validation phase and secured your first 3 paying customers, you have transitioned from an experimenter to a business owner. However, Noah Kagan warns that most entrepreneurs get stuck here. They have a job they created for themselves, but they don't have a growth engine. Chapter 5 is dedicated to the transition from manual validation to scalable growth. The marketing flywheel. Noah introduces the concept of the marketing flywheel. In the validation phase, you are using push marketing, manually reaching out to individuals. To scale, you need pull marketing, creating systems that bring customers to you while you sleep. The strategy for scaling is not to try everything at once. Noah observes that many founders fail because they try to be on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and run Google ads simultaneously. He proposes the double down rule. 1. Identify which of your first 10 customers was the easiest to acquire and the most profitable. 2. Find out where they hang out, which platform or community. 3. Spend 90% of your marketing effort on that single channel until it is completely saturated. The Law of 100, revisited for scaling. In Chapter 1, the Law of 100 was about overcoming the fear of starting. In Chapter 5, it is about statistical significance. Noah argues that you haven't tried a marketing channel until you have done 100 repetitions of it. Don't say Facebook ads don't work until you've tested 100 different ad creatives. Don't say content marketing is a waste until you've posted 100 high-quality pieces. Scaling is a game of endurance. Most of your competitors will quit at repetition 20. If you commit to 100, you win by default. Automation and the human API scaling doesn't necessarily mean hiring a massive team immediately. Noah is a fan of under-hiring me. No. He suggests you should do the task manually until you are so sick of it and it is so profitable that it makes sense to automate it. He introduces 3 levels of scaling. 1. Standard operating procedures, SOPs. Write down exactly how you do a task so a $5 virtual assistant or an AI tool can do it. 2. Software tools. Replace manual labor with specialized software, e.g., using an automated scheduler instead of back-and-forth emails. 3. Hiring, bringing in A players who are better than you at specific tasks, like sales or customer support. The power of referrals and the Dream 10. The cheapest way to scale is through your existing customers. Noah suggests a simple referral loop. Every time you deliver value, you ask, who is one other person like you who would benefit from this? Additionally, he suggests the Dream 10 strategy. Identify the 10 people or companies that could change your life if they partnered with Remeusem. Instead of generic outreach, spend significant time providing value to these 10 influencers or partners for free. One yes from a Dream 10 partner can be equivalent to 1,000 individual sales. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. The trap of busyness. I realize that I often confuse doing many things with scaling. Noah taught me that scaling is actually about doing fewer things, but doing them at a much higher volume. Focus is a multiplier. The one-channel rule. This was a revelation. I used to feel guilty for not being on every social media platform. Now I feel empowered to ignore 90% of them and master the one where my customers actually are. It has cleared so much mental clutter. SOPs are freedom. I used to think writing down my process was a waste of time. Now I see that an SOP is the only way to buy my time back. If it's not documented, I'm the bottleneck. Referrals are a system, not a favor. I learned that I shouldn't just hope for referrals. I should build them into my workflow. Asking for a referral is a standard business procedure, not an awkward request for a favor. The endurance of the 100. I've reframed my expectations. When I start a new marketing experiment, I no longer look for results on day one. I look for the 100 mark. This has stopped me from pivoting too early and has helped me find channels that actually work. Chapter 6, The $1 Million Mindset, the Long Game. The final chapter of $1 Million Weekend is about transition, moving from the frantic energy of a 48-hour sprint into the steady, disciplined life of a successful entrepreneur. Noah Kagan acknowledges that while starting is the hardest part for most, staying is what creates true wealth. This chapter focuses on the psychology of sustainability, the math of freedom, and the architecture of a lifestyle that supports long-term success. The freedom map, the math of enough. Noah argues that most people never start because they have a vague, intimidating goal like, I want to be a millionaire. This goal is too big to be actionable. Instead, he introduces the freedom map. The freedom map is about calculating your target monthly income, TMI. You list your current expenses, rent, food, insurance, and your dream expenses, travel, a specific car, a hobby. Often people find that they don't need $1 million. They might only need $5,000 or $10,000 a month to live exactly how they want. Once you have your TMI, the business becomes a math problem. If you need $5,000 a month and your product costs $100, you need 50 customers. This demystifies the $1 million journey and makes it feel achievable. The curated circle. Noah emphasizes that entrepreneurship is a lonely road, and your environment will either act as a tailwind or a headwind. He suggests a ruthless audit of your social circle. Masai, the builders, people who are also taking action and will hold you accountable. The drainers, people who focus on why things won't work or who prioritize comfort over growth. To stay in the game, you must surround yourself with people who make your ambition feel normal. If everyone you know is a 9-to-5 employee who complains about their boss, you will eventually drift back to that mindset. The rule of 3, focus and discipline. To avoid burnout, Noah teaches the rule of 3. Every day you should have only 3 big rocks or primary tasks that move the needle for your business. If you finish those 3, you are done for the day. This prevents the entrepreneurial guilt of feeling like you should always be working. He also touches on the importance of consistency over intensity. A $1 million business is rarely built in one frantic weekend. It is built by the person who shows up for 1,000 weekends in a row. The weekend in the title is the spark, but the mindset is the fuel. Investing in yourself, the ultimate asset. Finally, Noah discusses how to handle success. He warns against lifestyle creep, the tendency to spend more as you earn more. Instead, he suggests reinvesting the early profits back into the business or into your own education. The skills you learned during your first $1 million weekend, how to sell, how to validate, how to handle rejection, are assets that no one can ever take away from you. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. The clarity of the number. I realized that wealth was a blurry concept in my mind. Calculating my TMI, target monthly income, was a grounding experience. It turned my anxiety into an arithmetic problem. I don't need to change the world. I just need to find 50 people to help. The environment hack. I've learned that my willpower is limited, but my environment is powerful. I've started seeking out communities of doers. I realize that if I'm the most ambitious person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. Sustainable pace. This chapter taught me that hustle culture is a recipe for burnout. The 48-hour sprint is a tool for starting, but the rule of 3 is the tool for living. I've learned to give myself permission to stop working once the important things are done. The asset of skill. I now see that even if my first $1 million weekend business fails, I haven't lost. I've gained the skills of validation and the coffee challenge, bravery. These are the tools that will eventually make me $1 million, regardless of the specific business. Fear management. I've learned that fear never truly goes away. You just get better at dancing with it. The $1 million mindset isn't about being fearless. It's about being pro-action despite the fear. Chapter 7, The Growth Engine, Mastering the Marketing Flywheel. In Chapter 7, Noah transitions from getting customers to building a machine. Once you have validated your idea, you cannot rely solely on manual outreach forever. You need a growth engine. Noah breaks this down into 3 specific gears: content, ads, and partnerships. The double down framework. Noah notes that most entrepreneurs fail because they spread themselves too thin. He argues that almost every $1 million business was built on one primary marketing channel. Facebook/Instagram, if your product is visual. Google search, if people are actively searching for a solution. YouTube/podcasts, if your product requires deep education. The goal in Chapter 7 is to find your 10x channel. You test 5 channels with a small amount of time or money. Find the one that gives the best return and then ignore the other 4. Content as a compound interest asset. Noah is a huge proponent of educational marketing. Instead of just asking for sales, create content that solves 10% of the customer's problem for free. This builds the know, like, and trust factor. He suggests that for every ask sales pitch, you should have given 3 gives, valuable tips or insights. Engineering virality. Noah discusses how to build loops into your product. A growth loop is when one user's action leads to another user joining. Example, invite a friend and get $10 credit. He encourages entrepreneurs to think about how the product can market itself. What I've learned, interpretation. The myth of everywhere. I realized that being on every social media platform was actually a form of productive procrastination. I learned that mastering one channel is 100x more valuable than being mediocre on 5. The give-to-get ratio. This changed my perspective on social media. I used to feel salesy when posting. Now I see that if I provide enough free value, the sale is just a natural next step for the customer. Systems over luck. I learned that growth isn't a viral moment. It's a repeatable system. If I can't explain exactly how I got my last 5 customers, I don't have a business. I have a series of lucky events. Chapter 8, The Chief Sumo Mindset, Leadership and Scaling People. Chapter 8 is about the transition from founder to CEO. Noah calls this becoming the chief sumo. At this stage, your job is no longer to do the work, but to design the work and find the right people to execute it. The A-player philosophy. Noah is ruthless about hiring. He believes that one A player, someone who is in the top 5% of their field, is worth more than 10 B players. An A player doesn't need to be managed. They tell you what the business needs. He shares his hiring rubric. 1. Culture fit. Do they live the now habit? 2. Test any project. Never hire someone based on an interview alone. Give them a paid 48-hour project. 3. The hell yes rule. If you aren't excited to work with them, don't hire them. Freedom through documentation. To scale, Noah insists on the SOP, standard operating procedure, culture. If you do a task more than 3 times, you must record a video of yourself doing it and write it down. This allows you to delegate the task to someone else without the quality dropping. This is how Noah runs AppSumo while still having time to bike across Europe or film YouTube videos. The weekly review. Noah advocates for a strict weekly meeting with yourself and later your team. What did we win? Where did we fail? What are the 3 big rocks for next week? This ritual ensures the business never drifts off course. What I've learned, interpretation. Hiring is a product. I realize that I need to treat my hiring process with the same validation mindset as my business ideas. The test project is the MVP of hiring. Delegation is not abdication. I learned that I can't just throw a task at someone and hope it works. I must provide the recipe, the SOP, if I want the meal to taste the same every time. The power of no. As a CEO, my most important job is saying no to good ideas so the team can focus on the great idea. I realize that founder distraction is the one killer of growing businesses. Chapter 9, The $1 Million Life. The final word. The final chapter is a call to action. Noah reflects on the fact that most people will read this book, feel inspired, and then do nothing. He reminds the reader that the $1 Million Weekend is not a one-time event. It is a lifestyle. The regret minimization framework. Noah borrows a concept from Jeff Bezos. When making a decision, project yourself forward to age 80. Will you regret starting this business and failing? Or will you regret never knowing if you could have made it? The fear of no is small compared to the fear of regret. The 10-year perspective. While the book starts with 48 hours, it ends with 10 years. Noah explains that real wealth is the result of consistent now habits applied over a decade. He encourages the reader to find a business they enjoy enough to stick with for 10 years, because that is where the true compounding happens. What I've learned, interpretation. Action as the antidote to anxiety. I realize that whenever I feel stressed about my future, it's usually because I'm thinking too much and doing too little. Small actions are the only way to quiet a noisy mind. The journey is the reward. I've learned that the goal isn't just the $1 million. It's the person I become while trying to earn it. The coffee challenge version of me is a better, braver version of me. The infinity game. I now see that business isn't something you finish. It's a game you get to keep playing as long as you provide value to others. Chapter 10, The $1 Million Habit, the 10-year journey. Chapter 10 moves away from the 48-hour sprint and focuses on the next 10 years. Noah's core message here is that while the weekend is for starting, the habit is for winning. He addresses the post-launch slump, the moment when the initial excitement of the 48-hour sprint wears off and the boring middle of business begins. The Law of 100, as a lifestyle, Noah returns to the Law of 100, but applies it to the long game. He argues that you should commit to your chosen business for at least 100 weeks before you even consider quitting. Success, according to Noah, is simply staying in the room longer than everyone else. Most people quit when things get boring. The $1 Million Entrepreneur finds ways to automate the boring parts so they can stay focused on growth. The 10% rule for personal growth. Noah discusses the importance of reinvesting in the machine, which is you. He suggests taking 10% of your profits and spending it on coaching and mentorship, finding people who are 10 steps ahead of you, health and energy, realizing that your body is the engine that drives the 48-hour sprints, learning, not just reading, but active learning where you apply one new thing every week, the work backward framework, and Noah teaches a final planning tool, backward mapping. Start with your $1 million goal 10 years from now. 1. Where do you want to be in 10 years? 2. What does that mean you need to do this year? 3. What does that mean you need to do this month? 4. What are you doing today? This ensures that every now habit is aligned with a long-term vision. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. Consistency is the ultimate competitive advantage. I realize that I don't need to be the smartest person in my industry. I just need to be the one who doesn't quit. I've learned that boring consistency is actually the secret sauce of the rich. The boredom threshold. I learned that I often confused boredom with failure. When a business becomes routine, it means it's working. Noah taught me to embrace the routine rather than constantly chasing the next new idea. Investment in self. I realized that the best ROI, return on investment, isn't in a stock market or a crypto coin. It's in my own ability to sell and solve problems. If I improve myself by 1% a week, the compounding effect over 10 years is astronomical. The clarity of retrospective planning. Mapping my goals backward made my current daily tasks feel much more meaningful. I'm not just sending emails. I'm building a brick in a 10-year tower. Chapter 11, The Entrepreneur's Toolkit, The Systems of a Chief Sumo. Noah argues that once you have the bravery, the coffee challenge, and the validation, the 48-hour sprint, you need a tech stack that supports speed rather than slowing you down. He emphasizes that expensive does not mean better. In fact, most of the tools Noah recommends are free or low cost, staying true to the million-dollar weekend spirit of staying lean. The essential tech stack. Noah breaks down the starter kit for any business. The landing page, substitute. Instead of a complex website, use a simple Google form, a card site, or a typed-up Google Doc. The goal is information exchange, not design. The payment processor. Use PayPal or Stripe. If you are in person, use Venmo or Cash App. The faster you can accept money, the faster the business becomes real. The outreach engine. Noah advocates for simple tools like a CRM, customer relationship management spreadsheet. You don't need fancy software. You need a list of 100 names and a column that says contacted or not contacted. The Sumo templates. In this chapter, Noah provides the exact scripts he used to grow by AppSumo and Mint.com. He emphasizes the undersell, overdeliver script. The cold email script. Keep it under 3 sentences. Who are you? What is the value for them? What is the call to action? The follow-up script. Noah reveals that 80% of his deals are made on the 5th follow-up. He provides a template for the gentle nudge, which keeps you top of mind without being a nuisance. The 80-20 of automation. Noah introduces the automatic business concept. He identifies the repetitive tasks, like scheduling meetings or sending invoices, and shows how to use tools like Zapier to connect your apps. This is how you transition from working in the business to working on the business. What I've learned, deep dive analysis. Tools are a distraction. I realized I was using finding the right software as a way to avoid talking to customers. I learned that if I can't run my business from a spreadsheet, a 200-month software won't save me. The magic of the follow-up. This was my biggest aha moment. I used to think that if someone didn't reply to my first email, they weren't interested. Noah taught me that people are just busy. Following up is a sign of persistence and belief in your product, not desperation. Template everything. I've learned that my brain power is a finite resource. By using templates for emails and SOPs for tasks, I can save my creative energy for high-level strategy and solving my customers' biggest problems. Lean is a mental state. Even when I'm successful, I should keep my overhead low. I learned that a million-dollar weekend mindset means always looking for the simplest, most direct path to the customer's wallet. Final summary, the complete journey. We have now traveled from Chapter 1, The Art of Starting, all the way through the toolkit of Chapter 11. The million-dollar weekend is not just about a single weekend in your life. It is about a fundamental shift in how you interact with the world. You have learned to 1. Stop planning, start asking, overcome the fear of no through the coffee challenge. 2. Validate with pay. Never build something until someone has paid for it. 3. Scale the winner. Find your one marketing channel and double down. 4. Think in decades. Build habits that sustain you for the 10-year journey. About the author, Noah Kagan. As we close this deep dive, let's remember Noah Kagan's greatest gift to the entrepreneurial world: transparency. Noah doesn't just tell you to work hard. He shows you his own failures, his fired from Facebook scars, and his actual bank statements. He is the ultimate practitioner. He lives a life of why not and why not now. Noah has proven that you don't need a Harvard MBA or $1 million in VC funding to change your life. You just need a weekend, a problem to solve, and the courage to ask for the sale. He continues to lead AppSumo and inspire millions through his no BS approach to business. Thank you for watching. If you feel that my channel has benefited you in any way, please subscribe, like, share, and press the notification bell to get notified as soon as the new audio summary notes are up.